We are live. We are talking touchdowns. I'm here with Tyler Hicks. Excited to continue to break down the NFL. Tyler, we are about 8 days away from the NFL season kicking off, of course, when the Detroit Lions take on the Kansas City Chiefs. But we got plenty of season-long bets that we're still able to make. And we're going to look into the conference of the NFC. And I know we're talking NFC today, but some news came up, right? While we're getting ready that I think we need to talk about. So talk to me about what you just read on Twitter about our guy, Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah, what he's going to miss the first 4 games. They're going to keep him on the PUP list. And the guy still hasn't been traded. He's still a Colt, even though they say they're going to get rid of him. So just a wait-and-see game with him. But missing those first 4 games is definitely going to be big for those guys that draft him high in best ball.
Yeah, I know. And you know what? Early in the season, I was grabbing him, and I knocked it off. And I decided, Tyler, you forgot that I had all my paintings in the background. There we go. Now I'm at the Raider Stadium. Yeah, and then I stopped because I said, this guy might be such a knucklehead. He's worth it. I mean, look at these other deals that were signed, right? Saquon Barkley, right? What did he get? An extra $900,000 in incentives?
Yeah.
What did Josh Jacobs get? So Josh Jacobs, I think, was the first one to exceed the franchise tag ever. He got an extra $2 million, but it's a 1-year deal. And was it you and I talking about, or was I talking with someone else? On the Jacobs deal, it's interesting because now they could refranchise him, and it'd be the first time, not the second time. And we know the second franchise gives you a 30% kicker. So I'm not sure what Jonathan Taylor expects. I mean, he's not even. Is he the best running back in the NFL? He's trying to reset the market. He's not the best running back. Do you think so?
I don't think he's the best running back.
I think that Jacobs is better than him. I mean, McCaffrey's better than him.
Yeah, McCaffrey's definitely still. I think McCaffrey's still the best running back. But if you're gonna categorize running backs as guys that run the ball, Nick Chubb's the best running back. But the guy
he's the best runner.
The guy playing that position most talented is CMC.
Right, and with the way that routes work. Who was I listening to? I think it was John Middlecoff, and he was saying, if a guy were to come up to him, it might have been Lombardi, one of the two, but he said, what should I do as a college running back? And he said, work with the wide receivers, because that's where, running those routes is where you're really going to get into that. So, it looks like our guy Josh, to say what's up to the people in the chat. I see my guy, the Sports Keg, is here. Thank you for having us back on the channel. We're so excited to be reunited, and it feels so good. We got Mr. New to Town, Twate Latte, who is going live on this channel at 8:30 Eastern, 5:30 for us West Coasters, to continue crushing in baseball. And if you like make money, make sure you're checking that out. Fila is here, my guy Mike Whalen, and Josh, 100 best ball drafts, 0 Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah, he dodged that bullet.
That is impressive. Lineman making more than the NFL's leading rusher, and it makes sense though.
Yeah. Just for everyone in the chat, that's me from the Kegs channel talking in the chat. That's not him.
Oh,
it's just me from the YouTube account, so people know it's not him.
Oh, okay, cool. That's I do. Okay, I'll
our guy Johnny Nelson's here too.
Jonathan Nelson's here to talk, and he's of course he's tuning in because he knows I love the Vikings. We can rehash the debate that we've already had, Tyler. But let's go in order. Okay, let's start with each season. We're just going to go odds to win the NFC, and not to win the Super Bowl, just to win the NFC. Your favorites are last year's champions, the Philadelphia Eagles. When we talk about drawbacks for the Eagles, Tyler, number one, the schedule's way tougher. Number two, can they run as well as they did last year, avoiding injuries? So 2 major concerns here for the Eagles. I think they're the rightful favorites. I have no interest in betting them at this price. Good job, sportsbooks. If anything, I'd say it's a little short. And the sportsbook are making money on this because, plus 290, I don't know. I don't know if their chances are that good. What do you think here about the Eagles? And at plus 290 to just make the Super Bowl, not win this whole title, does that interest you at all?
Yeah, I think that's a bad number, though, spread. Would you take them at plus 330? Because that's what FanDuel's listed at right now.
Let's go over this real quick. Break it down real quick. I'm pulling up the odds calculator to give us the full. I should be able to do these in my head.
After going through the season, I projected them at 13-4. I think even though it's a harder schedule, the team got more talented. they have depth. So even though they're gonna have more injuries than last year, because they weren't bit by the injury bug at all last year, they stayed mainly healthy. So even if guys get hurt, they got guys that can step in. I think Hurts 12-1 MVP is the best bet on the board when it comes to MVP. The dude had it won last year until the last 2 weeks when he had to sit out. So I love that Hurts 12-1 MVP. I like that a little better than playing them to win the conference. But I just think they coast through this conference again. I think they're there in the Super Bowl again, and I think they have a very good chance of winning it. So I'm on Hurts 12-1 to win the MVP. Got them finishing 13-4. That's giving them the 1 seed in the NFC. So I'm very high on this team spread, even with them having that low number.
Yeah, you know what? As I put this in here, it actually, I think they did a pretty good job. 25.64% chance.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'd say they have a 25% chance. I'm still not making that bet.
And you just look around the NFC, it's like there's maybe 2 other teams that can contend with them. So it's like they really don't have competition on that side. They could easily just coast right through and do it again.
I was talking about it at the guy at the bank today. I said, boy, the third best team in the NFC, the Cowboys, what would they be? The 7th in the AFC?
The AFC is so stacked. When you go through every team in the AFC, there's maybe 2 to 3 teams that you could make like logical arguments that they won't make the playoffs. Every other team's live to make the playoffs in the AFC.
Yeah. Although I would say, how many teams on here? I guess there's more, right? Because
who could you pencil off in the AFC right now that's not going to make the playoffs, other than Houston, Indianapolis, and probably the Raiders? That's probably it. Anybody else can make the playoffs.
So who are we penciling off in the NFC? Arizona,
the Bears.
I don't even know if we're like crossing off Tampa Bay because that division sucks so bad.
I'm crossing off the Rams. Well, you could cross off
the Rams.
Cross off 3 teams in the NFC South because whoever doesn't win that division is not making it.
Right, but I'm saying at this point, all of them have a chance. Where I don't think the Rams have a chance to make the playoffs at all.
Yeah, but I think it's still the game of just pick your 3 you want out and you pick your winner.
Yeah. Okay, so the Eagles plus 290. Okay, I can see if you're an Eagles fan making that bet. It's not as bad as I thought. But I think a team with pretty much the same exact chance, you're getting better odds here with the San Francisco 49ers at plus 350. Tyler, do you think that the Niners have a better chance than the Eagles? I'd say it's equal, and we're getting the same payout here. What do you think of the 49ers?
Yeah, I think they'll still win a ton of games, but they've had a reoccurring thing spread over the last couple of years. They've had a really good year, and then the next year, injuries just cripple this team. Mm-hmm. Then they bounce back with a really good year, make the Super Bowl, the NFC Championship game, and then injuries hit them again. Well, if you keep following that trend, they're now in the spot where injuries are just going to beat them up. Do we really trust Brock Purdy after that bad injury he took in the NFC Championship game? They got rid of Trey Lance. Now it's just Sam Darnold behind them. They're still stacked talent-wise, but injuries could hurt this team. I'm not as high on the quarterback. So I think they're the second best team in the NFC. The odds show it, but I don't think they have a real chance at getting past Philly. I think they would need somebody to knock out Philly and clear the path for them. Because where they start to lose games is when another team's just as talented as them, and it comes down to the quarterback having to win them a game. Brock Purdy's not beating Jalen Hurts in a game when it comes down to it like that. So I have them finishing 12-5. That gives them the 2 seed in the NFC, right where we have them, but I don't think they get past Philly in the end.
It sounds like you're anticipating an NFC Championship rematch, however.
Yeah, I am.
Now there's one thing that can throw a wrench in your plans. Nick Bosa hasn't signed yet.
Oh, he'll be back.
Bro, do we bet Pittsburgh right now? Do you think he'll miss a game?
I don't think he'll miss a game, but I still think you bet him.
Well, I like Pittsburgh anyways, but I'm just wondering if it gets closer and closer and that's not signed, do you think that Pittsburgh just takes a ton of money?
I think it would have to be like going into the game. Like if Wednesday he's not there at practice, then you start to see the money move.
Here's my idea there. Traditionally, doing NFL handicapping, the only player worth more than a point was the quarterback. And I think that some of these edge rushers, and we've seen it with that Pittsburgh team with TJ Watt. I mean, you got to say TJ Watt's worth 4 points to that team. Wouldn't you agree?
He definitely.
I know people who model are going to say, you're crazy. You can't make a defensive lineman worth 4 points, and I can't statistically back it up, but I know from looking how that defense looked with him off the field and on the field, it's hard for me to see how he's not worth at least half of the quarterback.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, he's definitely the key part of that.
Is Bosa one of those guys?
I don't think so, because I just think the San Francisco's defense is just much more talented than Pittsburgh's in just a lot of other spots. Like, if you lose Nick Bosa, Fred Warner could still man that defense very well. Like, the thing about Pittsburgh is like they have very good players around him, but Minka's the next best player on that defense, and he's in the secondary. So you've seen it when Watt went out. Like, Minka's not going to go in there and just create pressure on the quarterback. Like, they were able to key in on guys like Highsmith and slow him down, which just hurts the secondary and gives the quarterback more time to throw. So I think San Fran's defense is just built a little different.
And that's a great point. Speaking of,
and our guy Josh in the chat comes up with a good point too. How much do you think D'Amico Ryan leaving hurts that defense?
I mean, we thought the same thing about Saleh, though.
Yeah, but what happens if this is the guy that was just able to step in for Saleh, knew everything, kept it going, and now there's not another guy behind them? Like, you can only
supposedly D'Amico Ryans is a high character guy too. I mean, I think Houston. Probably on the right track. I don't know. We'll do AFC here on Friday, right? But maybe wondering a little bit about that trade they made to go all in when they're probably not winning this year. To your original point about the difference between Watt and Bosa to the spread, and this is where I get to be old, but travel back in time with me, Tyler. Before Tom Brady played, right? Joe Montana was considered to be the best quarterback of all time. And the old joke was, how much is Joe Montana worth to the spread? Well, 1 point, because Steve Young is his backup, right? Even though he was the best quarterback we had ever seen up until that point, in my opinion. Obviously, I never saw.
So fun debate. So fun debate. Then, who was the quarterback that was worth the most points to the spread of all time? When it comes to just looking at their backup, like how bad the drop off was. I say it was Peyton Manning. It's got to be Peyton Manning when he was on the Colts, even though I don't like the guy. When he went out and Curtis Painter had to go in, that had to be the biggest drop-off.
Yeah, but I'm trying to think. I was like, Mahomes has got to be worth a lot. I mean, Allen.
I know Chad Henne's gone now, and they have a different backup. But the last couple of years, like, Chad Henne was able to step in there and still, like, game manage them wins.
Yeah.
And he did it in the playoffs, too. So
yeah, that's a good point.
Curtis Painter wasn't winning a playoff game.
Yeah, who's Josh Allen's backup? I don't know off the top of my head.
Yeah, I don't know off the top of my head either.
My guess is that's going to be a pretty steep drop-off.
It was Mitch for 1 year, but now Mitch is in Pittsburgh. So,
yeah. All right. Well, let's try and stick on track here. We're talking the NFC. You like the Eagles at plus 290 a lot more than you like the San Francisco 49ers. In my mind, though, I think these two teams are head and shoulders above the rest of the conference. Would you agree?
I think the way it goes, I think there's two different tiers, and then you have everyone else. I think you got the Eagles in one tier by themselves. I think you got San Fran in a tier right below them. And then the tier below those guys, you have maybe 5 to 6 teams, and then everyone else.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining in. Give us that thumbs up. We're going to continue giving you the winners. The Dallas Cowboys are next on our list. They're kind of in a tier of their own here at plus 550. Everyone else is double digits or more as far as being 10 to 1 or higher. Cowboys at plus 550, and it's Cowboys to me, and maybe I'm being reductive here. What did we say it was, redactive or reductive? Reductive. I'm being reductive here. This team seems to me like I want to bet them all regular season and fade them when the playoffs go. So while I might be over on their regular season win total, and we didn't decide there if we actually were. I thought they put up a pretty good number there for them. At what were they, 9.5?
Yeah.
I'm very interested in that. I have no interest in plus 550. I don't believe in this team in the playoffs. Am I missing something, Tyler? Is this the year they break through? Is it going to be a return to the 90s with the Cowboys making a Super Bowl appearance?
No chance. I'm not gonna say no chance, but because they have talent on that team,
right?
But it's just in the end, you look at the team. It's like, wow, great defense. Dan Quinn's gonna use Michael Parsons great. All their defensive talent relies on him. If he's there, they're gonna be an elite defense. You look at the offense, wide receivers galore. Tony Pollard looked great. All he needs is Dak to not turn over the ball. But then you look at the head coach spread, and it's like this guy's never been able to get out of his way, except for 1 year when Aaron Rodgers was just absolutely keyed in, locked in, and just led them all the way to
Are
the
you
Super
worried
Bowl.
more about the coach or worried about Dak? I just don't think I don't trust Dak in the playoffs.
I'm more worried about Mike McCarthy now having to call plays also with Kellen Moore gone in LA. So this offense could look a little weird. I think Dak's
It's not even going to look weird. It's going to look old.
Yeah, it's going to look old. Dak's interception problem, I think, was just more of like an outlier year. When you look back on his career, that was the biggest outlier year. He never threw double-digit interceptions until that year. There were a lot of those balls that got tipped and intercepted. So I think you see that come back a little bit his way. I think they put up a ton of points. I think they win double-digit games. But in the end, I think they lose probably divisional round of the playoffs.
All right. So when it comes to the Dallas Cowboys, hey, if you're a Cowboys fan and you want to make a bet, we say, hey, just play that.
Here's either that or here's, I think, a good bet on them. You could pick on FanDuel. You can to be an NFC wildcard team. They're plus 175.
That's a great bet. Can you pull up most points scored just for the whole season?
Most points scored here.
That's a fun season-long bet too.
Let's see.
We can dive into that a bit, but I think that just because you'd be rooting for them for every week, and if they go up on the poor Houston Texans 41-13, you'd still have some rooting interest because you want to just keep running that score up there. I'd be interested in some Dallas Cowboys most points. While you look that up, I'm going to transition to the next team, and I think that you're going to have to get these next two teams. I think are both in the conversation for that most points.
They're 10-1
to have most points.
Yep.
Okay, and so now two teams that are 10-1 to win the NFC are the Seattle Seahawks and the Detroit Lions. Before we start, since we're already on the most points kick, can you give me those two and who you would like more? I actually like the Seahawks offense a little better, but because they play in a dome, I think I'd like the Lions there. What do you have for those two teams on most points for the season?
Yeah, the Lions were also 10-1 and Seattle's 12-1. So just a little more value.
Those three, who do you like the best?
Probably Dallas.
More than Detroit?
Yeah.
Here's the deal. Are we worried that Detroit's going to end up giving up 34 and they'll still be with their foot to the gas while Dallas is running the 1990s offense, just handing the ball off with the 2-score lead?
It could be, but I also like the biggest thing here when we're talking about these teams is you look at three quarterbacks. Which one do you want to trust?
Great point.
I would rather trust Dak over the other two. I mean, I know Goff looked good last year. But he also looked good the year he made the Super Bowl with the Rams, and then after that, he didn't look good again. So I'm interested to see how he looks, see if he regresses at all.
The difference there, though. Here's the difference to me. When Goff made the Super Bowl, we all knew it was because of McVay, right? And this has come out, and it's so famous, right, that Belichick realized that McVay was giving Goff the signals, so he switched when the headset turned off at 15 seconds. He just completely switched his defense at 15 seconds, right? You got to think that Goff has grown from that, and he no longer has – what's the guy's name? Is it not Brian Johnson? It's a real normal name, though. Ben Johnson. Oh, great 80s sprinter. Boy, I wish I was jacked like him. Tyler, do you know about 1988, Ben Johnson?
No.
It was right when
steroids. That was like 6 years before I was born.
It was right when steroids got – so, sprinters, how they usually look, right? I mean, they're always cut, but they're real lean. I mean, the dude looked like a linebacker. And he was breaking every record. Turns out he was injecting, whatever. Okay, that's my Ben Johnson story. But the Detroit Lions have Ben Johnson as the coordinator. Seahawks. So, we got the Seahawks. We got the Lions. They're both 10-1. I can't interest in either of these two teams to win. And if I can, which one do you prefer?
I prefer Seattle. I think Detroit's everyone's darling coming into the year. When it comes down to it, in the end, you still need a solid defense to win in the NFL. You don't need a great defense, but you need one that's going to be able to get stops for you. I don't think their defense is going to be able to get many stops. They might be able to score with the best of them, but in the end, I don't think they make it too far in the playoffs. They'll put up a ton of points. I'm not even sure they win that NFC North division. I think that division is going to be a lot tighter than people think, too. I only think it's going to be 9 wins.
I don't think they win it either.
Yeah,
so
I think
I'm on the same side as you. I'm on Seattle. Number one, I have the better coach. Number two, even if the defensive roster isn't better, Pete Carroll has shown that he coaches his guys up. So he can take a guy
the
that's
additions that
74 on
Seattle
Madden
made to
and
their
he's
defense
79 by the
is
end
so
of the
much
year.
better.
Yeah. I really like Seattle a lot more. And what are you looking at here for Seattle to win the NFC West? Purdy turns into a pumpkin.
That's pretty much what
then now I got Geno or Sam Darnold.
Yeah, it's just the game of which quarterback messes up first.
Yeah, I'll take Geno over. And I know we talk about Purdy sample size being small. Geno sample size pretty small as well, as far as him actually being a successful quarterback. But I trust more what I saw from Geno last season.
The other reason why I trust more of it too is they made Geno protect the ball a lot more, and they kind of dumbed it down for him. So where it's like you're only throwing the ball in these certain places. If it's not there, either run it or just throw it away. They're not letting him try and be a playmaker, try and make plays down the field. It's like if the play's not there, just dump it down, get rid of it. We're not going to do this. So they limit him a lot to where Goff has these wide receivers that can just get up and down the field, and Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jameson Williams. I mean, he's going to be airing the ball out. You could see some deep balls turn into interceptions, but you could also see him turn into touchdowns. So it's just all about how that plays out in the end, to where I think Geno's just a safer bet.
Our guy Clyde, glad to have you with us, Clyde. Thanks for migrating over us here to the channel of the Sports Cake.
And just,
thumbs up.
Just as I say that, it wouldn't surprise me if both these quarterbacks just are terrible this year, and everything we saw last year was just an outlier from both of them.
Geno's not writing you back, bro. I disagree on his. He's saying that Geno's going to throw the most picks. No, because Pete Carroll's not going to let him.
Yeah, he won't let him.
He's not going to let him. He's not going to get that many opportunities. They're going to get a lead and run the ball. I love Kenneth Walker in baseball.
And they have 3 running backs now. They have Kenneth Walker. They have Charbonnet's there. I forget the other guy's name, but there's the third guy there too. So they just have bodies.
Surprise another team with 3 stud running backs.
Yeah. The third guy's not as much of a stud as just having that extra body, but they have the bodies. They have 3 receivers that are studs. They just trickle in tight ends and use them how they need them. So they could be a threat in the NFC. They would just need things to break their way a little bit.
And it's not that inconceivable that the Niners regress.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're going to throw the ball, but I'm just saying if Geno starts making mistakes, Pete's going to dial him.
He's not going to be like a 40 to 45 time a game thrower. Like if you get 35 out of him, that probably means they were trailing most of the game.
And he's not going to get that many if he's making mistakes.
Yep.
So, all right. This next one to me is the most ridiculous price on the board. How are the Saints next? I'm going off Bet Online. The Saints? 14-1? You got to be absolutely kidding me. So you think the Saints have a better chance than the Minnesota Vikings? Man, okay, whatever. I already know what you're going to say about the Vikings. The Green Bay Packers. I think both these teams have a better chance. The New York Giants, I believe, have a better chance than the Saints. Tyler, what am I missing? Why are the Saints 14-1?
I mean, they have an easy schedule. They picked up Derek Carr, so they shored up the quarterback squad over Winston last year. It's just better than Winston.
Didn't we say this last year that Winston was going to be an upgrade over?
I didn't. I was on the outside.
I
was on the outside of that train, watching everybody say the Saints were going to win, make Super Bowl last year. I didn't see it. I don't see it this year either. They have more talent. They could win some games. They're in a very bad division too, which could factor into these odds, but I still don't think they should be ahead of these teams either. Dennis Allen's never coached a team to a winning season, so it's just not a recipe where they're going to win. Derek Carr is I think he's going to make Juwan Johnson a great tight end. He's going to score a lot of touchdowns. He's going to use him similar to Darren Waller because he's a fast tight end. He has Olave, he has Michael Thomas. They have 3 running backs also. They got Kamara, they got Jamal Williams, and they got Keandre Miller. So they're stacked talent-wise. The defense looks good on paper. But, again, this was a team that was riddled by injuries also last year. They're getting old. Cam Jordan's old. Marshawn Lattimore's not young anymore. So injuries could come right back and bite them, and we'll see what happens there. But I don't think they're a threat. They shouldn't be anywhere near 17-1. But I also think
I'd much rather have you can only choose 4 teams. Saints, Vikings, Packers, Giants. I would choose the Vikings, Packers, and Giants all over the Saints.
Yeah, I'm probably taking the Packers.
Okay. Well, let's
Taking the
talk
Packers
about.
and crossing my fingers that Jordan Love actually shows up and plays good
And
football.
I don't know if I buy into that. Let's talk about the Vikings. You know, I love the Vikings, and my love is predicated on the addition of one man, Brian Flores. Our guy Clyde likes the Saints. All right. Well, I'm glad to see somebody likes them. And hey, we could be wrong, right? They could gain some confidence. But boy, I've seen Derek Carr just be so terrible in the red zone for so many years. I just don't see how he's going to be able to win a playoff game, especially because look at these defenses that they most likely be going against. Cowboys, Niners, and Eagles are all just going to just
They're going to get
give
the
him
call.
pressure, and as soon as he gets pressure, he sucks. And I don't think their line. Yeah, okay, we're done with Saints. I'm glad you like him, Clyde. 5-star probably likes him. He actually does. I think he might like the Texans a little more for betting purposes, though, as far as which team's more underrated. I would think that he would think that the Texans are a better value in the way that they're being approached by the market. And we talked about D'Amico Ryans earlier leaving the 49ers, and that's a big reason. So the Vikings are sitting here at 16-1, and Tyler, we get to rehash one of our favorite debates. I guess we'll try and do it a little differently. Who would you rather have? Kirk Cousins, Derek Carr, Jared Goff, or Dak?
Probably Dak. But I'm taking Cousins second. I'll say that.
Okay. All right. And that's fair. Yeah. I don't know. That's an interesting one with Dak, huh? To me, they're like the same dude.
But everyone's stuck on Dak's like very, very bad year last year. Like, I think he's a lot better than what people were giving him.
But he was never that good going into his $40 million year. He's never been a top 5 quarterback.
No, he's never had the talent to be a top 5 quarterback. I don't think he'll ever be
a
top 5 quarterback. What do you mean? I don't know. I'm saying him talent-wise, like him.
Oh, I thought you meant the guys around him.
No, he's had the talent around him, but I think that's what could help. Like if CeeDee Lamb just has a year where he just looks uncoverable and Tony Pollard's running all over teams, like they're going to put up points. He's going to throw a ton of touchdowns. Like he might not talent-wise be a top 5.
Well, Vikings are going to put up a ton of points too.
Oh, I agree, but their defense compared to Dallas is night and day.
All right, so let's take away betting. Let's take away real life. Just talk to me fantasy real quick. I won't be surprised if Cousins had a better year than Dak in best ball.
I wouldn't doubt it either. I mean, I think they throw more just because I could see their running game dying in Minnesota, where it's like Madison's
and if the defense sucks.
Yeah, Madison's not what they think he was. The backups are just young. They're not good either. It's just we're throwing the ball 50-plus times a game.
Jason Graham knew I was on my Baker Mayfield. Waking up. Feeling dangerous. Glad to have you, Jason. Hit that thumbs up. Anything more on the Saints, Tyler? I'm just surprised that it has to be a schedule thing why they're plus 1,400.
I think it's a schedule, how bad their division is, and mathematically one of those teams in the NFC South has to be kind of high on this board. So they just picked out them.
But do they? Why do they have to be higher on the board? Let's talk about the Green Bay Packers. I think the Green Bay Packers have a better chance than the New Orleans Saints. The Packers all hinge on one man, Jordan Love. And if Jordan Love can be good, they're head and shoulders above the rest of the division as far as defense, skill players, coaching, offensive line, special teams, everything that we look for in a team the Packers have. And I'll go as far to say if Jordan Love can't succeed in this situation, he's not going to be a successful quarterback. He's got one of the best situations of any of these quarterbacks, right?
Yeah, dual running backs that can handle the backfield. They drafted 2 tight ends in the first 3 rounds coming into the draft. The defense, it has top 5 potential. The offensive line's pretty good. It just all depends on him, just like you said, and which version of him shows up. You look back at his college years, because everyone wants to go back to that one game where he stepped in for Rodgers during the COVID year. They played KC. I don't even think they.
Out of my mind.
I don't even think they. Yeah, but that's also a game where it's like those practices were weird because of all the COVID stuff. He's not even seeing the first team. All of a sudden, Rodgers is out. You've never practiced with these guys before. You have no repetition with them. Now you're just thrown in there. So you were playing KC, who's a good team. I don't really take much from that game. Now he has the full offseason knowing he's the quarterback. Gets all the repetition with them. Plays some preseason stuff. And when you look back at his college years, his junior year, he looked great. He threw about 35 touchdowns, single-digit interceptions. He came back the next year. It was 20 touchdowns, 17 interceptions. So it all depends on he's going to take the shots, and he's going to be one of those quarterbacks where there's going to be years where he looks great. He looks elite. Everyone wants to crown him like the next guy coming up. But then there's going to be years where everyone thinks he's now Jameis Winston, and he throws a ton of interceptions. So he's going to be a game where he's going to take shots for Christian Watson. If he comes down with them, there'll be touchdowns. If not, we're going to be talking bad about Jordan Love and saying if they should put Sean Clifford in there because he looked good in the preseason. But I think he's going to be decent.
Sean Clifford?
Yeah, Sean Clifford from Penn State.
Sounds like a big red dog.
Yeah.
All right.
But I do think they win that division. I think he will play good enough.
Yeah, and we talked about this before. So neither of us like the favorite of that division. I like the Vikings. My idea is that I think that Brian Flores, they have the best offense, and Brian Flores fixes that defense. I'm not bought in on Jordan Love. I think that he's got a lot to prove.
I think he can give me enough games where he looks decent to elite where we win those games. And he just outnumbers the 3 or 4 games where it's like, well, the defense has been on the field half the game because
And I feel that same way about the Vikings defense. I think they can give us enough games where they look decent.
To where I also trust Green Bay's offense more to where it's like, oh, he's made mistakes. He doesn't look like he's going to be there today. We're going to run the ball 40 plus times with 2 running backs.
And they may be able to do that.
And still be able to win the game.
On a best ball note, I'd much rather have Romeo Doubs in round 10 than Christian Watson in round 4. I'm not saying that Christian Watson won't, but
it's just the people that are around. Like, do you want to draft Christian Watson or do you want to draft?
That's what I'm saying. That's a stacked area, and I think the Dobbs has a chance to come close to him in production. And I don't see any other people in that round 10 range.
Yeah,
where
like
the Christian Watson range. Yeah, Watson. You got Brandon Ayuk, Deontay Johnson, all these guys that I think I might rather have. So we'll see. Maybe I'm eating my Christian Watson tank because I've been going for Deontay and Ayuk a lot more than Watson, and they're all getting drafted right around the same way. Clyde, I like he's in midseason form, Tyler. He's already trolling me. Who do you all think will be the worst in the league, the Cardinals or the Raiders? You have to be kidding me. There's no way the Raiders will have a worse record than the Cardinals. There's no way. I'm not talking about your favorite New York senator.
Can we just talk? Can we talk about their coach for a minute?
What's up?
Can we talk about Arizona's coach for a minute?
Well, I was going to do that when we got to the very end at plus 7,500.
This might go down as everyone thought Hackett was just the worst thing that ever happened to a coaching job.
Mm-hmm.
Mark it down now. I think this guy might be worse, Spread.
Why?
The dude it's just the weirdness about him, seeing how he's handling things. They're like, why won't you announce a quarterback? You cut the guy who's supposed to start. It gives him a competitive edge. It's just little stuff like that. It just seems like he's trying a little too hard. I don't really see it in him either. And I feel like
we thought that about Sirianni the first 4 or 5 weeks. Remember when he was talking about growing flowers at a post-game press conference?
Yeah, but I think this is a little different. He doesn't have the talent that Sirianni has around him.
All right. So, it's going to be the Cardinals, Clyde, not the Raiders. Houston will be bad again, better, but still bad. Yeah, we'll be going to the Texans a little more in depth on Friday when we return to do an AFC preview. But we figured we'd get all these kind of teams that are tough to talk about out of the way, especially when we're talking about winning the conference. I mean, the Giants are 25-1. That even seems tempting, but I don't know. I mean, I'd say of all long shots, I probably like this one the best. I think I like them when you factor in the odds. I think I like them at 25-1 better than I like the Vikings at 16-1. But I think I'm so much higher on Daniel Jones than you, Tyler. Go ahead. Even though you think Jordan Love's going to be good, tell me why Daniel Jones sucks.
I mean, I don't think he sucks, but I just don't see as much talent there. He has the mobility, he could run, but the passing wise, I just don't see as much there with him. To where Jordan Love's he's going to take shots down the field. Daniel Jones just doesn't take those shots. Their wide receiver room's still pretty weak too.
I was just saying, to be fair, who's getting open down the field?
Yeah, the Giants, their skill players still aren't all that good outside of Barkley. I mean, I know they have
Waller.
Yeah, they have Waller now, but we need to see if he's going to stay healthy. He could be there for 3 weeks, look like a stud, and be gone the rest of the year.
Don't do
So
that to me.
it's a wait and see. Their defense, though, pick up Isaiah Simmons for a 7th-round pick off the Cardinals, adding to an already stacked defense. The defense is going to be great. Dable's going to get as much as he can out of this offense. I think they could sneak in the playoffs again, but I don't think they're going to win a playoff game again. They caught a really nice break playing that Vikings team that everyone knew was a fraud, winning all those one-score games. They were able to just put the defense on the field, slow down that offense, and run the ball to a win. So I think they could make a wild card spot, but I don't think they're going to win any games in the playoffs.
I mean, there's two arguments here. Number one, that they overperformed last year, but the other one is second year in the system. Like our guy Clyde says, he's absolutely right about this. They got one of the best coaches. I mean, arguably the best coach in the division. I mean, Sirianni has so much more talent.
Dable's definitely the best coach in the division. If Dable was on Philly, that team would be unstoppable.
Yeah, I agree. So, I mean, how do the Giants and the Bears have the same odds? If you just maybe choose between those, I mean, like, to me, the Bears do not have a shot.
No, the Bears' best shot at anything is winning like 7 games, and that's if they're lucky. Like, you got a running back playing quarterback who now everyone knows could run the ball. Everyone's happy they picked up DJ Moore, but outside of DJ Moore, it's like, yeah, you have Komet, who's decent tight end. Darnell Mooney can run like 2 routes, and Chase Claypool's useless. So the offensive line still isn't good. They're going to force
defense still sucks.
Yeah, the defense is still absolutely terrible. I think Khalil Herbert's one bright spot on the offense, but it's all how he
do. The running back is the easiest thing to find.
Yeah, and it's all about him staying healthy. I just don't see it with them. I don't get the Fields love for MVP. They're just not going to be a top 2 to 3 seed, which you need to be to win the MVP. They're in a weak division.
Here's the Fields narrative that we completely disagree with. They go, wow, Hurts got A.J. Brown. Allen got Stephon Diggs. DJ Moore is going to be that. I don't know if, number one, DJ Moore is as good as either of those 2 men that we just mentioned, Diggs and Brown. And number 2, I don't know if Fields has the same natural talent and ability to bring out with them from a stud receiver that Hurts and Allen do. One thing that both those guys do that Fields doesn't have, they're huge.
Yeah, they're.
So when you want to run around,
Fields isn't the smallest guy either. He's a lot bigger than you think. Like, he's not the smallest quarterback.
Yeah, I'm just saying. I don't know.
He is smaller than those guys, though. I know what you're saying.
Most likely to get knocked out of a game has to be Fields of those 3.
Yeah,
right?
out of those 3.
That's why I'm saying there's some flaws in this logic of, hey, well, Diggs propelled Hurts to the MVP. Diggs propelled Allen. Brown propelled Hurts. I don't necessarily think that Moore is going to propel.
You just got to look.
I would love for him to, though. I like
those situations too. Before that, like Philly was pretty much already built. Like, they made the playoffs the year before defenses. That. Yeah, Sirianni, decent coach. Brown shows up, puts them over the top. Buffalo was already knew what they were kind of doing. Drafts Josh Allen. He looks decent the first year. Defense is decent. Bring in Diggs. Everything works out. Chicago is nowhere near any of those things and brings in DJ Moore. And we know Fields from the draft has had a problem with staring down his first option when it comes to throwing the ball. He's going to stare DJ Moore down. Everyone's going to know where the ball is going. He's going to take a bunch of sacks staring him down. But he also talks about he's going to throw for 4,000 yards. If this dude's going to throw the ball more, he was, I believe, 6th in interceptions last year. And he threw the ball almost 100 times less than the top 6 guys outside of Dak, who missed 4 games. If he increases those throw attempts anywhere near those guys, that 30-1 on him to lead the league in interceptions on DK is going to be a nice bet. And I will be on that to start the season. Because if that guy is going to be forced into throwing the ball, he's going to throw a lot of interceptions.
All right, Tyler. Now we're kind of getting to the dregs of the NFC here. So I'm going to kind of skip around a little bit. But the team to me that I like more, maybe you used to hate the NFC East, but maybe I'm over on there. So now we've cut the Bears off, right? So if we're just going Falcons, Rams, Panthers, Commanders, Buccaneers, Cardinals, right? That's who we have left to talk about. Give me the Commanders at plus 4,000. I think they have a way better chance of actually doing something than Atlanta. Los Angeles is going to be terrible. Carolina, a rookie quarterback. I mean, I know Howell's inexperienced, but we've seen how rookie quarterbacks do. Tampa Bay, I guess that would be my second favorite if we're taking these long shots. And then Arizona, just go give the money to a bum.
Just call the gambling support hotline if you're betting on Arizona.
Yeah, just go give the money to a bum or charity or something. So I think the Commanders of all these other teams would be the most interesting, and then I think Tampa Bay would be the second most interesting. The Commanders have the chance to be one of the best defenses. You were the one who really put me on this, right? When we were doing talking touchdowns last year, and that was this guy was a top prospect that had a rough college time, but he was a top prospect coming out of high school. He has the physical tools to do it. Is Bieniemy that guy? Is Bieniemy going to turn things around? That's got a great chance to me. Plus 4,000. You have to really, if you want a long shot, to me, you got to take the Commanders or you take the Buccaneers. They're 2 years removed from the Super Bowl, and the idea that Baker could be serviceable is not that crazy to me.
Yeah, I agree. But looking at this with Washington, I think Washington takes a little bit of a different path than the teams we just talked about. How it was like, oh, bringing the receivers pushes everything over the top.
Mm-hmm.
They have both the receivers already there. They got Dotson, they got McLaurin, they have Brown, who's a decent 3, who also played with Howell in college. Howell was projected to be the first pick in that draft up until that last college season he played, when he lost both of his running backs, both of his starting receivers, and his tight end, and most of his offensive line. His draft stock plummeted after not having any talent, throwing a bunch of interceptions, when he had nobody he was used to playing with and was taking a bunch of shots with a bunch of young guys. So I still think he was the most talented quarterback to come out. He has all those weapons back now. And instead of adding a wide receiver, they added the offensive coordinator in Bieniemy. He's going to come in. He's going to make his offense look great. The defense is going to look great too. Just like you said, at all these teams, I think they are the one that we would take the shot on. And I think their season plays out very similar to how the Giants played out last year. Like they over-exceed expectations. They win 8 to 9 games. And they're right there on the fringe probably for a playoff wildcard spot.
And Jason brings up something that I left out. Talk about late round steals. I think Dotson's going to outperform both Buccaneers guys, right? There's about people 5 to 7 spots ahead that I like Dotson more of. He's another one. If you can get Dotson and Dobbs in the late round to supplement, I think one of them's going to go crazy for you.
Agree.
And Josh makes a good point that Howell actually has more physical talent than Daniel Jones.
He also could run the ball too. No, Howell could run the ball too. He might
not like Jones though. Vanilla Vic.
We'll see. Howell hasn't really been able to show it yet, but
I think Howell's a better thrower though.
Oh, 100% better thrower.
Yeah. Yes, we missed you, Clyde. We definitely missed you. All right, so let's of this long shot, right? It sounds to me you're with me if we're going, from less than 25 to 1. So it's Falcons, Rams, Panthers, Commanders, Buccaneers, Cardinals. It's Commanders or pass, right?
It's Commanders, or unless you want to play this narrative of the Bucs saying everyone thought this was over and this is our little revenge tour of waking everyone back up because they still have a bunch of talent. They're just old. And it would also be the revenge tour for Baker, but you're trusting Todd Bowles, who's just not been a good head coach. So I think it's Washington or pass with these long shots. And
to be fair, Ron Rivera hasn't been the best.
I don't see the Rams, like they're just too.
No, the Rams are done.
They're too thin at this point. Like they have 3 players.
Remember we brought that up, and I said, "Oh, they could still be good," and then you were telling me like, look at the rest of the roster behind Aaron Donald, And I went and looked it up, and it is bleak.
Yeah, a free bet on the Rams. Go in and bet Aaron Donald under 10.5 sacks this year, because there is no one else to block on that defense now. Like the triple teams now turn into quadruple teams. He's not getting many sacks this year.
And Sean McVay even mentioned it when they got blown out in that last game. It wasn't like he punted it. Those were a lot of players that are backups.
Yeah,
they just were getting smoked.
And if they look bad this year, I could see maybe if he even gets a little bit of a nagging injury, he goes and sits down. Like he's made his money. He's talked about retirement before. if he gets hurt, and even if he's still thinking about playing football for the next couple of years, he isn't going to waste his time half injured out on the field for a team that doesn't have a shot.
It's been the story of his career. I mean, that's all he did in Detroit, right? Was run around half injured with the team that didn't have a shot. You got to credit.
No, I was talking about Aaron Donald.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Stafford.
No, I was talking about Donald.
I mean, but the great thing is it applies to both. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah.
I mean, they're both okay. All right. Well, let's just slander the rest of these teams. The Falcons are at 28-1.
I don't buy any of that hype. Desmond Ridder sucks. The skill players are decent, but everyone's going to see throughout the year. They'll keep some games close. Then they'll have Ridder try and win them the games. It won't happen. They'll be drafting a quarterback this upcoming year. For their sake, hopefully it's in the top 3.
Yeah, and we'll see. And even if it's not, they might be able to trade up. So, okay, we just slandered the Rams. I mean, we talked. I think they've got a chance to be just as bad as the Cardinals.
I could see that, yeah.
Well, I mean, if we got Stetson Bennett in week 3 and Kyler comes back, they're worse than the Cardinals.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think Kyler's coming back, though. I think there's some underlying things there where they're like, we're not playing you all year, and you are out the door.
So you're telling me I wasted in a bunch of picks for him? Because you can get him late.
Yeah, I think there's going to be something where he sits.
Okay. And that wouldn't be the craziest idea. The Panthers, interesting team. I want to like them. I think their defense is good. I think they got a coaching upgrade. And I think Bryce Young is going to be a stud. The question is, will he be a stud in year 1? Because I think when we're doing these previews this time next year, Tyler, we're going to be high on Bryce Young. The question is, how much of this learning curve is he going to be able to get it done in week 1? I mean, you got to love the way the guy plays. And he's such more of a natural player than C.J. Stroud, right? C.J. Stroud's got all the, if you're building a player, right, he's taller, bigger arm, this and that. But Bryce Young knows how to play football. How do we approach this Panthers team, Tyler? I know we're not going to bet them to win the NFC at 33-1, but like when we're doing our power rankings, I wouldn't mind having them above the Rams and the Falcons and maybe even the Bears.
Yeah, I mean, I think they could surprise some people. I don't think they could win the conference or anything, make a Super Bowl, but I do think they could win that division. That division is very weak. If he hits the ground running, the defense is solid. They have running backs there. Also, Chuba Hubbard's there. Miles Sanders was picked up in the offseason. Blackshear's also there. Frank Reich's the coach. You got DJ Chark. You got Thielen. You got Jonathan Mingo, Terrence Marshall. You got a bunch of weapons that Bryce Young could make look good. It just all comes down to him and how long it takes for him to look good. The offensive line didn't look all that great in preseason, so we'll have to see how that plays out in the regular season. But winning that division wouldn't surprise me if they could pull off like a 9-8 season.
And here's the thing for me on Bryce Young. Having a bad rookie year doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to have a bad career.
Yeah.
So I can see him struggling this year and still end up being a top 10 quarterback over the course of his career.
I got a fun bet for you, Spread. This is what you bet $10 on.
Okay.
The Alabama quarterback future parlay. Jalen Hurts to win the MVP. Bryce Young brings home Offensive Rookie of the Year. You're going to hate this one. Tua brings home Comeback Player of the Year. $10 wins you $13,000.
No, DeMar Hamlin's going to win that.
They were just like taking a deep breath of sigh of relief that he made the 53-man roster. I'm telling you now, by week 17, that's not the story anymore.
Well, now's the time because he's messed up the market. He's at minus 500.
Yeah, that market's going to get crushed. That's the worst market of all the futures all offseason.
Well, great. Well, I'm glad you're able to find some value there. All right, there you have it. There's the NFC. I mean, do we even want to talk about the Cardinals anymore? I think we talked enough about the Cardinals.
I think we gave them their 30 seconds of fame.
All right, so we went over this all. Let's give out 2. We'll give out, because we're going to be a little opposite here, 2 the shorter ones and then a long shot for the division. I'll go ahead and I'll go first. So for my, easy pick, I'll go ahead and take the 49ers to win the Super Bowl. I won't be surprised if Brock Purdy is the real deal and the rest of the team is there. They have the experience to do it. And, maybe, rematch with the Eagles. They've contended all year. If they had their quarterback, they would have won that game. And now they get a chance to prove it. My long shot will be the New York Giants at 25-1. I really like their coaching there, and of course we're talking long shots, so you're going to be able to poke holes in any of those 25-1s or more. I just think that the Giants, if they just take that next step, they learn Dayball's system even more, and Wink Martindale gets another year with those defensive players. The Eagles get some injuries. I can see them being better than the Cowboys, even without the Cowboys having injuries. So maybe that's how low I am on the Cowboys. So my safe pick, Niners plus 350. My long shot, Giants plus 2,500. Tyler, give us a safe and a long shot.
Yeah, my safer pick than yours will be the favorite, the Eagles. I just think, unless injuries bite this team, I don't see anyone stopping them. I think Brock Purdy was getting exposed in that NFC Championship game last year. That nice little run he had was coming to an end. The injury saved him a couple months. Now the Steelers defense gets to be the one that exposes him week 1. And for my long shot spread, we'll go a little farther down the board. We'll take that Washington team we talked about. I have them at 30-1. If Sam Howell puts
I got 40-1 if you want me to place it for you.
That's even better. Better number there, 40-1. Sam Howell comes out, hits the ground running. Bieniemy's able to get the most out of these weapons on this offense. We talk about it. The only thing I really worry about with that team might be their offensive line. The defense could be number 1 in the league. So 40-1, I'll take a shot on them in a weak conference.
All right. So we like the long shots coming out of the NFC East, though. Buyer beware. Last year we thought the AFC West was going to be the head and shoulders conference, and we saw how that turned out. So speaking of the AFC West and the rest of the teams for the AFC, we'll be back talking about the AFC. We'll go over this same format, or like you guys throw stuff in the chat, of course we're going to go ahead and address that as well. So the main format is we'll go over the AFC, but we're willing to take some detours and chat with you guys again. So happy to be back. We're still talking football. We're still going to give you guys our picks, our winners, and we're here with the sports cake. So we're real happy about that. Tyler, usually, we have the guests give the words of wisdom here. I guess that duty fell to you today. You want to go ahead and end our show. Give the people one last thoughts about the NFC and the upcoming NFL season.
Yeah, definitely check out all the videos we'll be putting out on the channel. Definitely keep an idea of follow us on Twitter, because that's where we'll be posting most of our stuff too. If we're doing videos on different channels, that's where you'll be able to find that out. And as for the NFC spread, it's the weaker side of the NFL. There's
might be the weakest it's been in 10 years.
Yeah, there's maybe 3 or 4 teams that have a legit shot. And outside of that, if we get one of these bad teams, we'll be loading up on the AFC winner in the Super Bowl. So it should be fun, but in the end, I think Philly just gets it done for us. So let's lock in those Philly tickets. Let's watch them just crush the NFC. Hurts win the MVP, and I think they get the job done this year and win the Super Bowl. So as for the NFC, we'll be riding Philly, and that's how we're going to end.
Philly's not going to win the Super Bowl.
We'll see, spread.
All right, we'll see.